Hi, I'm Caitlin Cruz. I've been writing for Modern for 3.5 years. I live in Los Angeles. I started writing for Modern after meeting Jane Porter at a publisher event with my other publisher and sitting down and reading all 25 or so of her Modern books and deciding that I had to find a way to write like that myself. I had to write emotional, amazing, intense books just like her. So I sat down and I gave it a try. This year I have 2 books coming out in June. One is called In Defiance of Duty, and in that one I have a chic king and his Australian winemaker bride who have a very happy marriage in the opening of the book, which I then kind of take apart and try to put back together before the end. I'm a pretty big fan of that book, actually. I hope you like it. And then I also have, in June also, the Santina Crown continuity book. My contribution is called The Man Behind the Scars, and it's a Scottish lord, I guess, sweeps away this wonderful sort of up from the streets heroine to his castle in Scotland. She approaches him on a dance floor in a royal palace and asks him if he would be so good as to allow her to marry him for his money, and he agrees. So you'll have to read to see why he would do that, but that was a lot of fun to write too. And then later in the fall I have a book called A Devil in Disguise, which is my first attempt at a boss secretary book. I have a personal assistant who's had quite enough of her evil Spanish boss and wants to leave him, and he doesn't really like that idea, so I had a lot of fun playing with that as well. So my writing schedule, I wake up every morning and read through the previous day's work, but first I have to have a giant cup of tea. I was recently on a trip with a bunch of British people who made fun of me for how much tea I drank, which is sad, really. Anyway, a huge cup of tea, and then I have to sit down and read every single thing on the internet, every single thing, and then when I finish with all of that, I will sit down and try to write my day's words. I like to give myself a daily quota, about 2,000 words, and if I'm doing well and out far enough from my deadline, that usually works pretty well. I can write about 2,000 words, if not more, a day, and then read through it the next morning and kind of keep on top of each book as I go. I am a complete pack rat, and I have piles and piles and piles of all sorts of things, books, you know, manuscript pages all around me. I like to be in sort of a cluttered world filled with the book that I'm writing. And then somehow I just type my way through it and have to make rules so that I stay off the internet. Even though I've read the entirety of it ahead of time, I have to stay off the internet in order to write my words for the day. And somehow it all gets done. I tend to write the books in about, I would like 2 months, but I often have more like 6 weeks to 1 month. And sometimes it's better to have less time to write the books because you just have to jump in the world and stay in it and get them done. So the book that I wrote for the Santina Crown continuity was my second continuity book. My first continuity book was so much fun to write that I really didn't think anything would be, that anything would approach that level of greatness. I wrote about, in the Bad Blood continuity, I wrote the Lucas Wolfe book, and I loved him. I just loved him so much. So when I got the Bible for the Santina Crown continuity, I wasn't really sure that I was going to be able to make it quite as good, but it turned out that the main character, the heroine in the Santina Crown book, whose name was Angel, was just the coolest character in the world. She had something called blagging skills. I didn't even know what that meant. I had to write my editor an email and ask what on earth that meant. And once they told me, I realized that that was the key to her entire character. And I was able to get inside this really tough, strong woman's brain and figure out why she would do the things that she had to do to be a part of the series. And once I figured that out and got behind her confidence and was able to figure out how she would even go about falling in love with someone, it all fell together, and it was a lot of fun. And frankly, I think Lucas Wolfe and Angel might have a fun dinner together someday. I think they would like each other. Well, I thought it was really romantic when my husband proposed to me. We were up on Mulholland Drive in Los Angeles, which looks out over the whole of Los Angeles, and he actually got on one knee, and it was great. It was very. You know, I'm quite partial to York. I lived there for a long time, and all the wonderful medieval walls and the beautiful minster. I think that, I wouldn't know, but I think that it would be a lot of fun to be there with somebody that you love. Very romantic. Any book by Michelle Reed. I just saw New Year's Eve, which is probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But John Bon Jovi was in it, and Katherine Heigl, who I normally don't like, but their story was this wonderful reunion story, and it was very good. It was very romantic in the midst of probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Who is my celebrity crush? I'm quite partial to Tom Hardy at the moment. He's the inspiration for my current hero who I'm writing, who the hero is a Russian MMA fighter, and Tom Hardy, of course, played a fighter in that movie that he was recently in. So there's all these lovely pictures of him and tattoos with bandaged hands, and he's... I never liked Jane Eyre when I read it as a child, but recently the Michael Fassbender movie has made me reconsider my opinions about Jane Eyre, and I have to say that I've come around on the Jane Eyre, Mr. Rochester thing quite a bit.